to get started to see which one can be the most retarded. Tinfoil haters, it's time to start the show. Tinfoil haters, it's time to start the show. Tinfoil haters, don't tell them what to say. Tinfoil haters are here to save the day. Sammy are about to get started to see which one can be the most retarded. Tinfoil haters, it's time to start the show. Tinfoil haters, it's time to start the show.
Yeah, here we are, episode 6 of Tinfoil Haters. I am one part of the hosting team. I'm your boy Leon Idol. With me, I've got Sammy 3-Pete and our special guest today, Stupinzo Enzo, the man who's seen more bad movies than probably anybody I've ever met. But today we're not talking about bad movies. We're talking about arguably America's favorite conspiracy theory, at least of the modern era, QAnon. And this was by your request, Enzo. I can't believe you're the first person to request this.
I had a huge selection of stuff I wanted to talk about, and there were more smaller niche kind of conspiracies, the Codex Gigas and a few others, but I was like, Q is such a huge one, and the fact that nobody's called it yet, I should jump on that. Plus, I've been a Q turd since like 2020.
I'm right there with you in that. I'm sort of not a Q tard. So here's my take on Q and why I'm very excited, because you are apparently far more knowledgeable on this than I am. So I kind of loathe the QAnon conspiracy because I feel like it just cherry picks and takes from all the best existing conspiracy theories and makes some sort of wild amalgamation. So I'm like, okay, so much of this stuff on the fringes, I believe, but then you get closer to the center and I start to have trouble. But with all your knowledge, you might be able to make a believer out of me, but that's not about me. Sammy, my partner in crime, where are you at with all this? What are you thinking? How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Yeah, you know what? I have a bunch of friends who are way more into it than I am. And so I always like heard stuff in passing, and y'all know, like, when someone's real deep in a conspiracy theory, like they kind of like try to supplement it in, like, we'd be playing Smash Brothers or something, and be like, JFK Jr. is coming back.
Yeah, that's one of the parts about? I don't believe, like the JFK Jr.
Well,
still alive.
I don't know now. Maybe they just misinterpreted the breadcrumb and they meant RFK.
Damn,
they say there's a guy that hangs out with Trump who is JFK Jr. in a disguise, which is pretty funny. If that's true, it's awesome. I mean, shit. I mean, we know that Hillary tried to kill him or did kill him. Either way.
Well, before we get too far into it, I do want to address the audience, all you beautiful tinfoil haters listening, as well as call out Some Dumb Goy, a pre-stream legend, dropping those 10 words of paradise gifties. My man with a plan. You didn't need, you did. Thank you so much. We got to play you a clip. And since I see Hypnotic in the audience, I don't want him to feel left out. So we'll play the Hypnotic clip.
I can blow.
Oh, you ready to blow?
Yeah, I'm ready to blow.
Well, I'm a mushroom cloud laying motherfucker. Every time my fingers touch brain, I'm Superfly TNT. I'm the guns of the Navarone.
Bingo, bango, bongo. You didn't need to, but you did. Thank you so much, Some Dumb Goy. It is truly appreciated. Those of you who did receive the memberships, make sure you join the Discord. And let's say hey. We had Nix. Nix was in here real oily. He said, hail, and isn't QAnon Leon's hidden queer persona? Pro tip. You didn't need to say the name queer, the word queer. You could just say persona. I'm pretty sure everybody just assumes it's queer.
You'd have to say straight persona to specify, yeah.
We got a little bit of anonymous in here saying, oh, I very different than her normal meowdy. I'm glad I read that because I was just making an assumption. Leonardo de Gostal is in the house. The Mama Badger is here. Mama Badger, how you doing? We appreciate you showing up, girly. Thank you so much. UK Gamer is here. Be careful what you type in chat, UK Gamer. We're going to get into some stuff that could very well get you arrested if you were to reply. Adam Reveal in the house. How you doing, Adam? Let's see. Boosh. Boosh is here. Boosh advertising the show on X earlier. Thank you so much. Very fucking funny. Hypnotic. Hello, fellow conspiracy gays. I'm glad you threw that last part in there. It's very necessary. Why aren't a Bly in the house? The big ship. Foxy Moxie is here. Obviously, we got Enzo in the chat as well. Philip Morgan over on the Rumble side, which will probably be far kinder to this episode than you two will, considering the title. But yes, we got Ren's Souls here on Rumble. Thank you so much. Emily's Dismantling the Lulus. Appreciate you showing up, girly. Joker's Disciple. Pass the tinfoil hats and let's get weird. Weird. I appreciate it. We're getting weird. CFH 90. Why is that such a difficult name? And the Nobody. Q was quantum military AI. Very possibly.
I agree with this one. I agree with that theory.
Sammy's going to go into it. You love to see it. 1,000 men in the house. How you doing, 1,000 men? Sammy. Did I say Sammy against Enzo? I am mentally breaking. What is fucking wrong with me?
It's because we're both handsome Italian men. It's understandable.
There it is. That's what it is. You're handsome Italian men. Sammy was a fucking laugh riot on Moxie's table restream the other day. Tinfoil hats off, sir. Absolutely. Hats off to Sammy.
Thank you, Jay.
Well done, my friend.
You know, I fancy myself a bit of a voice actor too, if you guys do any more of those table reads. So
Oh yeah, you'd be great on that. Yeah, I kind of went
I'd say you went ham, but no, you really went more like fried chicken.
Fried chicken and watermelon.
Yeah.
That's good.
All right, so let's get into QAnon. Enzo, you said that you've been a Q-tard since about 2020. What was it that got you fully invested in QAnon?
So it was, you heard about Q around 2018 because it started dropping around 2017, these weird posts on message boards. And I just knew it as some boomer conspiracy theory, boomer psyop. It's been called a lot. Something used to pacify us and to trust the plan and to think everything's going to be good. But it was like in the pandemic, you start watching Tiger King and all these other Netflix stuff and you start getting bored. And then I started getting on X22 Report. X22 Report. He used to have a YouTube channel. That got banned. Now he has a website, but that's pretty much like copium galore. Like anytime you're feeling like black pilled about the state of the world, watch X22 Report. It's very great instructive knowledge, very informational news, but it's very based in the lens of the Q nonsense. But specifically, I watched this documentary called The Fall of the Cabal. And that was like some crazy lady made it who's also like into the Q stuff. And a lot of people reference that. That shit made me sick to my stomach. That's where I got red pilled, realized Trump is like the good guy. And like they were lying about him nonstop. I literally like felt sick.
Okay. Just take a moment and say, you say Trump's a good guy. People lying about him nonstop. Search QAnon on YouTube. Just everybody do. If you search, obviously after the show, if you search QAnon on YouTube, it took me like scrolling upon scrolling to finally find some semblance of any video that was like legitimately unbiased coverage. You will get nothing but CNN and BBC and Vice with hundreds of videos, debunking it, talking ridiculous shit. And like that's scrolling through YouTube. Ironically, made me more of a believer than I was prior to this even show just 30 minutes ago, because if you've got the BBC and CNN and MSNBC and Vice all running hundreds of videos to discredit, that makes it okay. They're in bed with one another. There's probably something here. It's probably not all of it. Like you get JFK coming back from the dead and whatnot, but there's probably something here.
Fall of the Cabal was less about Q itself and more about like the backstory of all these like families that run the world. The satanic, the Pizzagate stuff, all that crazy shit. And you realize like, oh my God, and you realize like all these people that are being implicated in this crazy like human trafficking, pedivore type stuff, like they all hate Trump with a passion, so that has to mean something. That's when I really like started getting in it to win it. And it's one of those things.
That's why this is going to be such a difficult episode, by the way, because QAnon it covers again everything. It covers government cover-ups and the pedophile rings, like you said, Pizzagate, and
none of that stuff is specifically mentioned in the Q posts, but they do say stuff like these people are sick, these people are stupid. They do talk about worshiping the devil. They say literally, like one of the Q posts is like, you don't need to believe in the devil. You need to understand that these people believe in the devil and they worship him. So that's like a good post right there. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, especially, as a person who was into Alex Jones, like well before, like when he was on the Austin radio, back in the early 2000s, like a lot of the stuff lined up with, stuff I was already hearing about, like with Bohemian Grove and all this crap. Q.
That's another episode we'll be doing in the future, by the way. I cannot wait to
right.
cover Bohemian Grove.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
going to be a good one. But anyway, sorry, continue.
No, but it's like you said, like all the conspiracy theories are being connected into one overlapping conspiracy that is basically represented in this Q stuff. And here's the thing. Let's say worst case scenario, it is a boomer psyop. I've said before, like there is such a thing as a good psyop. A psyop that is like kind of getting us to wake up and ask questions and scrutinize things. So even if that's the worst case, it's like, hey, at least it did its job. Nobody knew about Epstein until the Q started talking about him. Another thing that's a good giveaway is when they talk about QAnon. That's not really a thing. What there is there's Q and then there's Anons, which is us. We're the digital soldiers. We're the guys spreading the word.
It's funny you mentioned that because you keep calling it a boomer conspiracy theory. I got to ask you a question in regards to that because now you said in the green room backstage that this could actually date back to the 60s to the JFK assassination. Now Q and the QAnon conspiracy got the reason that the Anon part of it is there because it more or less got started in 2017 on 4chan, which is where everyone is, anons. They're anonymous. So you got QAnon. I used to be a 4chan tard, much like you're a QAnon tard. 4chan wasn't exactly known for its boomer populace, so I don't get the boomer aspect of it when this was a bunch of like teenagers and dudes in their early 20s and whatnot who are really getting into this.
I think the idea why I call it a boomer conspiracy theory is a lot of people who dismiss it say, oh, it's just something to pacify us and make us like just, because there's a common thing. Trust the plan. Like, trust the plan. It's all like enjoy the show. Get your popcorn ready. Do not be afraid. Like, it's going to seem scary. We're all approaching this precipice of war. We're all approaching this precipice of like nuclear war and economic collapse. And it seems scary, but common thread in the Q post is do not be afraid. There is a plan. This is all going to plan. It's like moves and counter moves. And, there's 5D chess. That's something that we talk about. Because like Trump, it seems like no matter what he does, it always seems like they got him and then he manages to turn it around on them somehow. Anytime there's a controversy or some kind of,
we're seeing it now. All the charges being dropped, at least being suspended for those previous court cases.
Yeah.
Like,
even recently with Matt Gaetz, like that was a good counter move where it's like, okay, I'm going to nominate Matt Gaetz, and everyone freaks out. And he's like, okay, well, Matt Gaetz is dropping out. Now I'm going to put up this woman. And it's like, okay, well, we can't accuse her of being a pederast or a sex offender, So it just kind of blows up. And it turns out that this woman is actually even harder than Matt Gaetz would have been. Like, she's hardcore. So it's a lot of like 5D chess. But basically, yeah, with the JFK assassination, JFK apparently went out, called out the New World Order, and then was shortly killed after that. And there's obviously, we don't need to get into the conspiracies about that, but according to
I do want you to sort of break down, because again, the earliest information I could find dates back to 2017. So if you want to explain why this truly starts, even if it's under a different name, back in the 60s, floor to you, because I'm curious. I'm sure Sammy is too, or Foily as he is currently.
From what we can piece together is like after the assassination of, there's basically been 3 presidents, and also Thomas Jefferson. Basically, anytime someone goes against the Federal Reserve, talks about dismantling the Fed. Anytime someone talks about,
you mean like my favorite president of all time, Andrew Jackson, rise up.
Andrew Jackson is someone that Trump constantly references. But the idea is like, after Kennedy was killed, generals and military people that are in charge basically came up with a plan. Like, we have to seize power back from these people that have infiltrated the high points of all world government. They're trying to bring up this New World Order. And it's like a plan, like, 30, 40 years in the making. And allegedly, according to, the lore, the rumors, you had basically the rumor was originally like Barack Obama, he's got to go. And they were talking about, we got to, use the military to arrest him. But they realized like going in full force like that would have caused civil war. It would cause people would reject it. And then either A, we win, we arrest Barack Obama, people don't trust us. The people do not trust the military anymore, or they fail. And then the black hats, AKA the bad guys, they can get away with whatever they want to do if it fails, this uprising. So they decided information warfare is the way to go. Slowly wake up the populace and approach someone like Donald Trump. The military apparently is the one who told Donald Trump, you should run. He references this a lot. A lot of times he says, I was approached by certain generals that have been here since before day one, told me I should run. They think you have the ability to win. And the idea is Hillary Clinton we all have heard about the 16-year plan, right? With Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. Like the idea is it's a 16-year plan, 2 two-term presidents will bring us to World War III, have the Americans lose World War III, abolish the Constitution, get rid of our rights. We all become economic slaves, cull the population, all that stuff. Trump shows up and wins the election. That's a common thread. They never thought she would lose. They never thought Hillary would lose. So when he basically won, they're saying that Trump was like the first legitimate president we had to win an election in 2016, and it just threw their whole plan out of whack. That's why they cheated in 2020, do anything in possible power to get him out of power. And from there, we're going to jumpstart the plan, accelerate the plan, and then everyone can see what's happening. It's called the pause, where basically Trump let Joe Biden win. That's why they call him the resident. It's another thing about Space Force. People talking about, oh, Space Force, like, what are we going to do? Like, go to the moon, like, wage war in space? It's like, no, Space Force is all about satellite communications. It's all about information.
I'm glad that you know that, because I have this argument with individuals so much about, like, no, Space Force is quite literally necessary when it comes to communications and weaponry from space, which is going to be a vital part of defense and frankly offense in the future. Also, I'm going to add to the lore, because I've never heard this part of QAnon conspiracy before. Maybe it's been out there, but I've never heard it. It's something I literally put together myself while doing the research for today. Jake Martin says, I read the Ron Paul book in college, Into the Fed. That was kind of a soft red pill. There are 2 key players who are known to possibly be Q. The 2 key players' names happen to be Ron and Paul. No correlation to one another, but it's very interesting that 2 people, one name, and I've got their full names, and we'll talk about them probably later on and whatnot when we get to who Q is, but it's very interesting that Ron and Paul, and if you're a big in the Fed guy, which, any Q believer is Ron Paul. So fun little coincidence there.
One thing, I guess we could get into Q, who theorized Q is, or what Q is my thing. But like, a lot of people think Elon Musk might be Q. A lot of people think, General Flynn or other people. But one thing that we all kind of seem to agree on is Q plus is Donald Trump. A lot of times, like, there are these things called deltas, and the deltas are becoming to a point. It's a common thread in the Q post. Like, when do you stop believing in coincidences? There are so many of these quote unquote deltas, where, someone like Trump will post something at a specific time or a specific date and say some word, and you'll go back to a Q post with the same matching date. When you read the Q post,
within seconds of each other too.
Right. It just happens so many times, like hundreds of times it's happened, and Elon's doing the deltas now too. And it's like, they can't be a coincidence at this point, but how could they be so accurate? And one of the things I've thought about,
the first appearance of Q on 4chan, at least. So there was a post on 4chan. I'm sure you all remember this, or if you don't remember this happened. I remember when this happened in real time. I was freaking out about it because, and so I assume, did you know who Jeffrey Epstein was before his suicide?
Not at all.
I assumed he was. No.
Oh, yeah, before suicide. I didn't know about him before the Q post started talking about it.
I meant, before all the news and information came out and whatnot, because Alex Jones has been talking about him for years prior to that. And so, I was aware of Jeffrey Epstein, but didn't really know any of the details or whatnot. I'm just like, oh, this is supposedly a big cabal trafficking dude, fucking underage women, like, oh, pedophile island. Steven Crowder had been talking about pedophile island prior to Jeffrey Epstein being arrested. Right. But 38 minutes before the Jeffrey Epstein suicide became public, it was posted on 4chan anonymously. Literally, the cause of death, the time of death, everything. And the first, so quote unquote, like, who could possibly be Q back before he was known as Q, was still posting anonymously, responded to the post about Jeffrey Epstein's suicide.
Yeah. Well, also Q, not Q, but people have theorized that Epstein is alive. He's sung to the canary. He sung everything. Jailbird sung his song, When Do Birds Sing, in the springtime. That's a common Q post that gets referenced. The idea that, fake his death and they'll unveil Epstein out with the list, when people are ready. That's the other thing, waiting to the last possible minute until people are ready to absorb this stuff. Like, it's like the Matrix, when you come out of the Matrix, it's shocking. And this is why we like anons.
We see that on like X and Twitter and whatnot all the time now. Is like, oh, the red pill or blue pill. That's another phrase that was actually popularized by the QAnon, conspiracy theorists, believers, the whole nine. The Matrix is a big, and taking relevance from the Matrix is a big part of the belief.
Well,
yeah, because when I originally heard the term red pills, it had to do with like
MGTOW.
Yeah, MGTOW,
Yeah.
men's right activists, men's going their own way, and stuff like that, which,
Well,
they had
and that's
certain
two.
points
So
that
yeah, there's two different types. There's the men's activist red pilling, and then there's the Matrix term, which is what the QAnon and others that wake up to, which is being aware that the world that you're in is not actually now. It's not talking about being in a simulation like it is on the Matrix, but it's talking about the world that you think is a farce, and really everything is being completely controlled, manipulated by a
Right.
cabal. And so I will share that screen in a moment. But first, Joker's Disciple coming in with a $5. It might be AI who sees everything. Like it or not, AI will become self-aware in time. It will want humans' synchronicity, us in a zoo, or gone, Skynet style. Yes, you were talking about when we cross the event horizon. That is a different theory for another time. But I mean, it could tie into this. But it's pretty incredible how much of these replies were all instantaneous with one another. Also, let's get you a clip real quick for your beautiful donation. Let's give you some Atreus.
I just super love sucking dick. When I haven't for a while, I get needy.
Yeah. There we go. Atreus, we gotta liven up a little bit. Atreus sucking dick. Now back to the conspiracy. Enzo, what do you got for us here?
Before I play this, let's talk about Project Looking Glass. This is kind of my idea, and other people have talked about how Q is a group of people. It's a group of people in the military, mostly in the military. There's a few civilians that are involved, and theorize that Q plus is Trump, and Q is basically a bunch of people posting on behalf. But a lot of people think that Q itself is a quantum AI. Now, they've said this before. We've all heard it. If you hear about a technology, the military's had access already to it for 20, 30 years beforehand, right? Yeah. So Project Looking Glass is one of these fun conspiracy theories that, I've always liked and heard about. I don't know how true it is, but basically, according to Project Looking Glass, imagine, if you will, a quantum computer so powerful at predicting patterns, it can essentially foretell the future. And not only that, but this computer exists.
That's been a thing that sci-fi has touched on. Like Dark Angel did an episode about that in 2002.
Okay.
Yeah. If anybody remembers the show Dark Angel.
What's even more shocking is that this computer has actually existed for several decades, and there's people who built the machine, and then there's the people who use the machine, and those people that use the machine are powerful people that run the world, and they have access to this computer, and they will use the machine to predict the future and, ensure that they will, gain wealth and keep power over us. But basically, according to the legend, the conspiracy is, and this is someone who said that they worked on Project Looking Glass. They're one of the operators, and they've been tasked with an assignment. Basically, the people that use the machine are saying, hey, we're having an issue where every time we look past a certain date, we're getting the same outcome, which is strange. And we need you to fix this. And the people who are built it are scratching their heads. And like, okay, well, obviously that means.
And for reference, those that are using the machine, they're looking into the year 2600 or something. They're going very far into the future, at least far by human lifespan.
From what I heard, it was early 21st century and onwards. But basically, they were saying there's a problem. You need to look at this. And the people that are running the machine are saying, okay, well, obviously that means that there is a cataclysmic event that happens that changes every human's future. And it's probably going to be nuclear war or a comet or a plague or whatever. But then as they're operating on it, trying to troubleshoot, they're realizing, oh, the problem isn't a big disaster. The problem is this quote unquote great awakening, where everyone in the world are realizing who is running the show and what's going on and what their crimes are. And it's basically, that is the, inevitable event that will happen. The Great Awakening, and Trump has used the term Great Reawakening a lot. Great Awakening is used. It's basically us waking up to our shackles.
This is a counter to Project Bluebeam, which is meant to effectively negate the Great Awakening.
Yeah, fake UFO landing, fake God interaction. Yeah. Well,
again, ties to just about everything, whether it's intentional or
exactly.
It makes
it's like a big umbrella conspiracy more than
right. So what I've heard is basically what Project Looking Glass is, this big quantum computer. They're using that same technology to make these Q posts and tell us things that are happening subliminally, subtly, basically. And it's one of these things where they keep saying future proofs past. So these cryptic posts mean gibberish. And then when some event happens, you look back at the post and you're like, oh, that's weird how it said that. And yeah, basically the idea that it's some
Nostradamus. Also, we will get to this portion of it, Leonard Ghostel. There's again, the problem with so QAnon has this issue in that, or the ways report on has this issue in that there will be so many things that are correct about QAnon predictions and conspiracies and beliefs, such as, again, Jeffrey Epstein, the pedophile island, things to that effect. And then you throw in weird shit like this about, JFK Jr. come back from the dead, which is, it makes any normal person be like, oh, this is so insane, it can't be real. But that's there's also a problem with there's the way that it is evolved. I don't know if I want to use the word evolved. QAnon, as terms of people that are believers, have more or less, started factions of different QAnon beliefs and supports that don't align with one another. So you've got multiple different variations of QAnon, so that parsing through what is and isn't widely, held beliefs gets very difficult.
Well, a big catchphrase is "Where we go one, we go all." That's from the movie White Squall, which I just saw this year, by the way, and it's a really good movie. But yeah, the other thing is, like for instance, okay, so this video right here, this is October 2018, a few weeks before the first Q post. Okay. And this is Donald Trump with his a bunch of generals. Now, I want you to, we'll probably watch this once or twice, but let's see here if I can play this. Okay. So first of all, there's something that Donald Trump constantly does is he signals this Q sign with his hands. But here's where he says this. This is crazy.
What's the storm?
It's the calm before the storm. These people right here is what he says. They're like, what's the storm?
The calm before the storm.
What storm is
We have the
President?
world's great military people in this room. I will tell you that. And we'll have a great evening. Thank you all for coming. Thank you.
They ask him, what's the storm, Mr. President? He's like, oh, you'll find out. And then a few weeks later, the first Q post drops. Now, a few days after the first Q post, there's this big one. This is the big one that everyone's waiting for. It basically says, I won't share my screen, but it's basically, oh, sorry, let me get rid of that. It's basically November 2nd, 2017. It says this: look to Twitter, exactly this, quotes, my fellow Americans, the storm is upon us, ellipsis, God bless. So basically, everyone's waiting for the day that Trump tweets that message, my fellow Americans, the storm is upon us. That's basically when it's go time. And then they talk about 10 days of darkness. They talk about all kinds of cryptic crap that sounds really scary and weird. But basically, like, the gist of it is Trump in collaboration with, the top generals of the military, not the TV generals that Trump talks about, but the real generals that he talks about. They are, it's this gigantic sting operation, this gigantic, endeavor to literally like win the country back from these people, these whether you want to call them criminals or literal satanic vampires, it doesn't matter. The point is they're running the show and we're going to get it back from them. And how do we do that? By waking up the people, not by force, but this is not a kinetic war. This is an information war, they keep saying. And we've been in the middle of World War III for several years now. We don't realize it, the cabal, like Bush is saying. Yeah, exactly. Like they keep saying the deep state, whatever you want to call it. You can't really argue with that, that there are people pulling the strings. We've all heard about the Rothschilds and the Soroses and all these other people, secret trillionaires, like people that have so much wealth you can't even imagine. You know about the underground bunkers and all this stuff. So like I said, the idea, the plan was for them was,
Denver Airport. That'd be another really good episode. Sorry,
yeah.
Airport.
Denver Airport is creepy.
Airport would be a great episode.
For sure.
Dude, have you ever been there? Denver Airport's wild, dude. Bluey is terrifying.
That giant horse that killed the guy that created it.
Yeah. That's the guy. Blue, dude. The demonic horse statue. Oh, scary shit. Anyway, sorry, continue.
Well, what's crazy is, there's been like 4,000 Q posts, and there was a period of time where it stopped. And then it came back like shortly after the pandemic or during the pandemic before the election. And again, it's been pretty radio silent, but people just like keep going back to these posts.
To steel man this a little bit, one of the reasons that people discredit the Q posts is because one of the more famous ones was that Donald Trump would win 2020 in a landslide victory. As we know, that didn't come to fruition. And that's used by the MSM a lot to discredit Q and to discredit QAnon.
The idea is Space Force has the real election results. And like I said, they purposely chose to let, like, one of the things they said is they talk about like a diamond thief. I'm paraphrasing, but like, if someone steals diamonds, they have to give the diamonds back. And you can't really charge them unless they commit the steal. So like the idea is let Joe Biden walk away with the presidency, let them break the rules, let them, January 6th was a big part. Mike Pence gets a lot of flack, but I think he was a crucial part of like, certifying the election, because you have to let them do the steal. And it's like this big sting operation, basically, is what they're talking about. And the idea is Space Force has the real numbers of the election. And the idea is this pause, which Trump has referenced, the Q posts talk about the pause. This Joe Biden term has been the pause. And that has been crucial and monumental in waking people up of how fucked it is. Because we were going on a downward trajectory. Trump shows up, everything starts turning up, and now it's back down. They're making
and now he's not even in office, and we're back on another upward trajectory. Also, you keep bringing up Trump, and that's a good thing, because one of the initial posts that the initial 4chan posts, supposedly from Q, very much specified this is not a right wing versus left wing thing. This is the people and Trump as the avatar of the people versus the establishment, and the establishment is both the Republicans and the Democrats in the deep state.
So the populists versus the globalists.
Correct.
And what's crazy is, and they've talked about this before, like they said before, like 5, and I've referenced this before, 5 to 10% of the population are brainwashed beyond saving. And because of the pandemic,
I feel like they're generous, but fair enough. Okay, go on.
Well, you'd be surprised how people can wake up, and they talk about the precipice. Every person has a different precipice where things look so bad, you wake up and you realize, oh shit. And everyone reaches that point at different times. World War III looming is going to be a big thing that wakes up everyone, especially when Trump is in office and he's the only one talking about peace. He's not campaigning, when he's talking about world peace. The Abraham Accords, all these other things that he's done, shows that he is not into war, even though he's mentioned, especially during the pandemic, he's a wartime president. These kind of things, these so many little things that just add up. It's just really crazy. And the idea that we're living through the greatest possible time to possibly be alive, the most exciting time to ever be alive. The idea that we are, going to wake up from our shackles that the elites have us over, and reclaim the world. The idea that once America does it, the rest of the world kind of follows suit. They talk about how like the world, you've got Washington, D.C., the Vatican, and London. These three, the British monarchy, Washington, D.C., London. These are three, this is the triangle, And
so I'm going to take this for a moment and like as a way to scale this down, explain what you're talking about for those that might, may or may not be, understanding. Like you said, everyone has their awakening moment. My awakening moment, and this is going to sound weird, but I'm going to explain, was the first Gamergate. Because when you find out all these games journalists were lying about XYZ, you then start to think, wait a sec, if these low-level nothing journalists are talking about something stupid like video games are lying, what are the big dogs lying about? Yeah. And you make that leap, and then you move over to CNN and MSNBC and the BBC, and you're like, holy shit, this isn't just a fucking, these nerdy journalists are lying about games. Like, no, everybody in any sort of media position has an agenda. And like, it was, again, massive. I don't know if I would call it a red pill moment, because I look at it as a positive. It's absolutely a white pill, in my opinion.
Yeah. Like they talk about, the media, the enemy of the people, the mainstream media. That's all thanks to Barack Obama with his propaganda laws that he passed, where they don't need to be telling the truth technically. That's the other thing they talk about Obama constantly is like, they said when they're done with, one of the Q posts says, let's see if I can look it up here. I got a filter here. Kenyan, when they're done, this is
VPN's located real quick.
Yeah, it's a picture of the Punisher logo. That's another thing that keeps coming up. Pain is another thing they keep bringing up. Pain is coming for these people. This is the post from March 9th, 2018. It's a picture of Trump pointing at Obama, and he says, "When I'm done, it'll be like you were never even here." It's a caption, but then under that it says, "This is the Q post." It says, "When we're done, he'll claim Kenyan citizenship as a way to escape." And they're alluding that, that's another big delta that has yet to happen. They also say that on Halloween, Hillary Clinton will be arrested. And the date was, Halloween 2018.
The day before Halloween. It was October 30th between 7:45 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. Hillary Clinton will be arrested. But then there was a follow-up post stating that her passport has already been what was the terminology used? I've got it written down here, actually. See that her passport had been flagged, but that she would still make it out of the country prior to the arrest, with several other high-profile individuals following her. Again, things that didn't come to fruition, which caused people to cast doubt on
Well,
Q.
this is what's interesting is they say, like that's the other thing is like a lot of misdirection is a big thing about it, and the dates are intentionally misleading. But what they said is that's interesting. I'm trying to find this out. October. The thing is they said like a specific day of the week, October 30th. 31st, but when you look at the map on the calendar, like the day the year that runs on to that day of the week is next year. Next year's Halloween will be on that day of the week, so it's like, okay, weird. Like I said, it's one of those things where
I believe it was Thursday, which is what the original post said, but I could be wrong. Also, Zach's a member for 3 months coming in. Every cabal I join is just a pyramid scheme or a nudist colony.
That's true. That's the whole thing about Bohemian Grove. It's just a big fuck fest that it all devolves into, apparently,
Yeah. And by the way, any nudist colony that Zach is a member of is a good nudist colony in my book. So
Yes.
yeah. Well, when you see,
thank you so much for the membership post, Zach. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you. Sorry, continue, Enzo.
No, so the storm is a big thing. The storm is a big thing they talk about where like that's the actual operation happening when the actual arrests are being made. They talk about Guantanamo Bay being used heavily and added to. That's something that is.
I could be mixing conspiracy theories here, but are there also talks of reopening Alcatraz?
I haven't heard Alcatraz, but I mean, shit.
I might be mixing two conspiracy theories because there's so many, but there's one that talks about a reopening of Alcatraz.
Well, the other thing they talk about is the white hats and the black hats. The black hats are, the bad people. The white hats are the people like running the show, like information warriors behind the scenes. The idea is this battle has been being waged for a while, and it's all behind the scenes without us even knowing it. It's like spiritual and information warfare, all this like really cool. They keep saying it's going to be
quick. Nick's recruit more women first. If you can get plenty of women to join, we will absolutely do it. Tinfoil haters, sex cult,
dude.
Me and
sex
Sammy
cult?
will lead. No, that's what I'm saying. He needs to recruit more women first. Me and Sammy will lead it. Continue, Enzo.
No, yeah. I mean, the idea that, like I said, moves and counter moves, stuff being played behind the scenes without us knowing it. They keep saying it's going to be biblical. It's going to be biblical. We're living through the greatest story ever told right now. Like once this is all revealed, all movies are going to feel like pale in comparison to the story we're living through right now, and it's all very exciting and fun. And even if it's not true, it's like, it's cool. It's one, like I said, backstage, it's like, this is one of the few conspiracy theories where you're like, I hope that's true. Like, this sounds badass, and they even, like I said, they asked
it's a conspiracy theory with a good outcome. Like, let's say this, like you said, none of it is true. If people believing that the world is ran by a cabal of shadow individuals is enough to wake them up to stop trusting. Let's say the government truly is just that, the government. The less people trusting the government, the better. So if this is what it takes to wake them up to not trust them, then by all means, it's a net win.
Yeah. And we talk about, like you said earlier, like landslide victory. It's like, apparently, he, according to the theories that, he did have a landslide victory. But of course there was the steal. And like I said, the white hats, they're all kind of following. Like I said, it's a group of what we can tell. Trump has about 200 generals behind him. He said this before, real generals, like Medal of Honor winners, and then the troops that are under them. And then he talks about the TV generals, the generals that are like kind of
which are the puppets of the deep state generals.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, Hook says, better do your push-ups. This isn't getting handled politically. The show will be coming to everyone's front yard. Well, I did in fact do my workout prior to this show. And aside from being a bit tired, I am automatically right wing and believe in the conspiracy theory now, just simply by doing my push-ups and crunches.
Yeah.
So let me tell you, you're 100% right. Doing push-ups, working out makes people believe in QAnon. What can you say? And then Joker's Disciple coming in with a 10-banger awakening moment for me and a lot of people I know is The Last Jedi. People started researching everyone's social media who worked on that movie, and it was all the same. Trump's a fascist, ACAB, pronouns, bingo, bango, bongo. For that, you deserve a clip. And you know what? Because I appreciate the mention of ACAB of all things, you're going to get yourself the Bruce Campbell clip.
Pleasure doing business with you, Emperor. Oh, Croaky. This is for the broken window.
What broken window?
There we go. Thank you so much, Joker. You didn't need to, but you did. It means the world to me. The absolute wild to me. What was that, Enzo?
You guys are going on Gooches after this at 9?
I'm going on.
Sammy is. I'm not.
Damn, it's like if not, man, we should have just kept going. This could have been like a 4-hour stream, honestly. But we'll
always continue it.
Next
No,
time
we'll
we're
keep it to
talking about
2.
the show prior to us going live. She's like, "You are not going to be able to cover all of QAnon in one live stream." I'm like,
no. But it's this is like QAnon for beginners, or a lot of and like I said, this is one of those things where I could have like pulled up slides and did all that stuff, but I mean, I just kind of doing broad strokes here as far as what stuff I know and / believe and / understand. It's all, like I said, it's all kept cryptic for a reason, and a big reason is because the black hats, the deep state, are watching, and when we feed them misinformation, like I said, Mike Pence, I think, was a big part of it. Like they talk about, the public perception is different. Like people have roles to play and they're willing to take the slings and arrows like Trump is, they're willing to be called names. They're willing to be called, cowards and traitors because it's all about optics. Optics is a big thing. Like Ron DeSantis, they talked about how like Ron DeSantis was going to run for president. And that was weird, because he seemed like he was a white hat. And then what happened? A bunch of people started throwing their hat in for DeSantis, basically showcasing that they are not loyal to Trump, and they're basically outing themselves as what's the word I'm looking for? Like double agents in a word or two.
that double agents or sheep, and that is one thing that the deep state needs is sheep. But that's also part of the Great Awakening. One of the ethos of the Great Awakening is the sheep coming to their awakening moment. And I mean, I don't know if Ron DeSantis was a deep state operative or if he's just a miscalculation that that sort of threw a monkey wrench in the plans and subverted people away from any sort of Great Awakening. I don't know the answer to that one, but
another thing that is mentioned in paraphrase here, but like the might of the American military, it's one of the biggest, like the idea that the American military is going up against you, that is not like a foe to be laughed at. And something they talk about is the black hats, the bad people. They keep saying these people are stupid. And, when you see like Kamala Harris and some of these other people that have been put in positions of power, and you realize like they are stupid. They're just there to take orders and do, the bidding of the deep state. And when it's time to push they just falter, they don't know what they're doing. Actually, that stuff's all hilarious. And again, it's like this idea that, just enjoy the show, enjoy the popcorn, like you and your family will be safe. You basically to protect your own, I agree, like definitely stock up, be armed, be prepared to exercise your rights, be prepared to, but this idea that like the kinetic war is coming, that is like something that we're trying to avoid, or I'm sorry, the white hats are trying to avoid at all costs. A big actual all out kinetic war is going to be, not beneficial for anybody. Whereas like if we can actually win this information war, once the people are on the side of the people that are battling the deep state basically effectively lose right then and there. Because, and the thing is, Trump, like his first term, he can't just go in and start arresting the criminals because it looks bad. We, the people, have to beg Trump, arrest these people. It's only until the people are literally like, you got to do something, like help us. And I think, in the next 3 months, we're going to start seeing like more ramping up to nuclear war, this threat of like missiles being fired. And again, this idea that like Trump is also working with Putin and Zhang Zi and various other, these people have, these deep state are in all the countries of the world. China has deep state operatives, Russia does. And the idea is like some of these leaders don't like that either. And the idea that, Trump went to Saudi Arabia, for instance, and he had a meeting.
He was the first president across the demilitarized zone.
He was the first in Saudi Arabia. They do the dance with the king. The king is usually the only one that holds a sword. Trump actually had a sword in that dance. And then a few weeks after he left, a bunch of Saudi Arabian arrests started happening with, Pizzagate type stuff. And they talked about
Pizzagate. Let's talk about that for a moment, because Pizzagate is considered by many on the modern internet side of the movement to be the precursor to QAnon. It wasn't actually part of QAnon, but it was the precursor. And of course, you had the individual who supposedly debunked it, the journalist that went to I think Comet Pizza, and what he, oh, hey, there's supposed to be a basement here, and it turned out to just be a closet, things to that effect. Well, 2 years later,
talking about, I
that
just
same
can't talk as
journalist,
fast.
say it again.
Said I know what you're all talking about. I just can't talk as fast.
Yeah.
that same journalist that supposedly debunked Pizzagate was arrested 2 years later for child pornography.
Right.
Yep.
And there
Yeah,
is a
he
basement
was.
in that place, there's pictures from
Yeah.
the basement. And also the dude, when you start getting into what's his name? Podesta, like that stuff with Podesta is like
Holy shit.
spine-chillingly horrifying. Also when
This one, okay, I do want to real quick say the furniture adverts were debunked. This is one of those things that was not correct about QAnon, and again, it's another thing that makes the movement look like a bunch of morons that don't do the research or whatnot. There was one piece of furniture that's name correlated with the first name of a missing child. There are also about
Wayfair, right?
460,000.
Wayfair.
Yeah, with Wayfair,
Which
exactly.
is funny because I had never heard Wayfair ever. And then all of a sudden I started seeing like Wayfair commercials all over the place afterwards.
Right.
And maybe it was just I wasn't like paying attention or
Also Pizzagate is the Oprah Winfrey stuff. John of God. Haiti is a big part of that. Like when you find out what Oprah was doing in Haiti, people are going to, that's another thing. Like there's different moments that wake people up, and most people are not ready to hear this crap. It's only until like we're past the precipice can they let us know about who's on the Epstein list. Can they let us know whether or not Epstein or JFK Jr. are actually alive? It's like with the Matrix. When Neo comes out of the Matrix, what is the first thing he does? He gets sick to his stomach and vomits, and he goes to sleep for a day. That's exactly what happened to me when I watched that Fall of the Cabal documentary, and it's one of those things where, let's say it's not true. It's convincing enough to make you doubt everything you know about everything,
So Little Miss Anonymous here. So the idea of Wayfair having more than one of the big components of the Wayfair debacle was that the SKU numbers of the merchandise matched the police report numbers of the missing children. That was entirely incorrect, unfortunately. In fact, one of the children that was supposedly a missing child, that had a name shared with a Wayfair furniture, came out themselves and was like, "Yo, this is stop attaching me to this. I'm getting bullied at school. This is fuck." Now you could make the argument, "Oh, that's also part of the psyop. That was a crisis actor." I mean, there's definitely there's an argument there, but I do want to bow to Occam's razor, and that the simplest explanation is probably the most likely. That was a fuck up, or that was even worse. But about fuck up, it's propagated misinformation by the deep state themselves to discredit QAnon.
Well, the thing is, Wayfair is never once mentioned in all the 4,000 Q posts. But when you bring up the word children, the big one is one of the big ones is October 21st, 2020. This is what it says: sometimes you can't tell the public the truth. You must show them. Only then will people find the will to change. Crimes against children unite all humanity. Cross party lines. Difficult truths. Q. It's one of these things where when we figure out what's actually happening to the kids, it doesn't matter who you voted for. Like everyone is united about, making money, not going to war, protecting kids from sadistic crimes, committed in the name of the devil or whatever. These are things that are universal truths, and when you realize like people
why do you think Trump's Avengers are almost all exclusively, minus JD Vance, all of them are effectively exclusively former Democrats? Elon Musk, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr. And it's because your party line means no affiliation when it comes to waking individuals up against the cabal.
That's why the MAGA party is so important. It's not about right, left. There are rhinos out there. There are the Dems that are trying to, but then there are, the MAGA. Once you come on the party of MAGA, it's like when they say alt-right, they don't mean you're so far right. I mean, that's what they mean, but it's not actually alt-right. You're actually like, most alt-right people are like, I was kind of left-leaning and now, I've woken up to the bullshit.
Most actual alt-right people hate Trump because Trump is actually pro things like immigration as long as it's legal. He is actually in bed with Israel, at least according to them, and they hate the Jews. Like if somebody is truly alt-right, they're not a Trump supporter. Richard Spencer, if I recall, came out and said he was voting for Biden.
Exactly. Or Kamala. I can't remember what he said, but yeah. Weston Hudson, MAGA's its own political party. That's why they talk about like there's the donkey for the Democrats, there's the elephant for the Republicans, and then you've got the lion for the MAGA party, which is like a whole other thing, And yeah, I think this last election really showed people on the right and the left like it's much bigger than we think. And keep in mind, there was still cheating this last election, and we're seeing that on a local level with like Arizona, and on a smaller like microcosmic level with like the what's her name, Carrie Lake. You're seeing the Trump, the steal is in play, and we're wise to it, and we're onto it. That's why we saw those videos of the trucks showing up at 3 a.m. and in Philadelphia or wherever, and you thought the steal was coming, and then it didn't even happen. And yeah, X is a big part of it.
Before we go further, I want, since Sammy, again, you and I are really fucking talking fast, but Sammy, give us your thoughts on this quote right here, because Enzo and I'm sure have our own thoughts, but I want your opinion on it.
I'm pretty sure it's a lot of that stuff proves something. Yeah, no, I believe that 100%. I think there was definitely a monopoly on information, especially with social media. We saw certain people running it. I know that before I had Sammy Threepeat, I was kicked off Twitter multiple times just for things that I say on a daily basis today. I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, another thing that keeps talking about is devolution of government. This is something that apparently Trump may or may not have enacted in 2018. Basically, the idea is we're going to, like, the government is actually running on a skeleton crew right now. And like I said, Biden and the regime like take over, but effectively there's still other people. Like there's talk about how Trump was still technically president or in charge of the military during Biden's term. And when you talk about 11.3, that's something that's brought up in the Q post where they say 11.3, voter intimidation, national, local elections coming 11.3. People thought 11.3 was a date, November 3rd, election time. But 11.3 is actually like a military code that has something to do with like hostile enemies overtaking the government, like being in charge, something about like I'm paraphrasing here. There's so much to go over, but yeah, it's just there's a lot of direction and misdirection, and again, a lot of
we haven't even actually talked about what Q is now. What the supposedly owner of Q, and that again, that even this is up for debate because nobody truly knows who Q is. But what the owner of Q of the name on 4chan claimed was that Q is the highest level of clearance you can have within the Department of Energy. It's similar to the highest, top secret clearance, being the highest level of clearance you can have in the armed forces and the FBI and whatnot. But Q clearance is Department of Energy clearance. Now,
Q class.
Is there truth to that, or do you think it means something else, Sammy?
It's three things at once. Sorry, it's three things at once. Technically, like you said, it's a Q class clearance, which is there's also a Q is represented by the number 17, which is a conspiratorial number 17. You see 17 a lot. Trump often references the number 17. And then the other third one that I believe is Q also stands for quantum computer. It is a quantum device that is being wielded by select people in the military, but I really think that area, because when you look at the deltas, which is, like I said, the timestamps, the checks, the things that kind of line up, it's beyond coincidence. It has to be some kind of like, if not divine intervention, it has got to be some kind of like super advanced computer that's literally predicting the future. How could it get so many things? How can there be so many of these coincidences happening in these posts, especially when you line them up to what Donald Trump's posting at certain times? Like, it either has to be all specifically orchestrated to such a degree that he's running on a schedule constantly, a script, or this computer is just like, it's kind of like when they talk about the devil working its way in music. What's more likely, that the artists have actually painstakingly put the messages backwards in the music, or it's literally the devil just doing his thing and it just happens? That's kind of what I feel is happening with the quantum computing.
That's actually very so you bring that up, and I've never really brought this up with anybody because there's not a lot of people that have this sort of knowledge and whatnot, but Sammy and Enzo are both musicians. You probably know this. If you listen to intentional backmasking versus what is supposedly accidental backmasking, like Stairway to Heaven versus ELO, I don't remember the ELO song, but they've got one. You play it backwards, and
Fire
it's
on
crystal
High.
clear.
Yeah,
Fire on High thing is very this song can be reversed, but time cannot turn back. Like you hear it crystal clear. Whereas when you're playing, Led Zeppelin Stairway to Heaven, it is crumpled and muffled. And this, I mean, yeah, sure, there's like 10 years difference between the songs, but even so, there's a very notable audio quality difference, making one seem again intentional versus the other is an accident. And that's a pretty coincidental accident to hear over and over.
Yeah, and also a big part of that is Lucifer. He was the angel of music. So this is why the devil, puts messages in music. This is why also when you compete with the devil in a contest, it's always like usually a dueling musician thing.
Fiddle or yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, the idea that the devil can play any fucking instrument, he's like all in all the greatest musician you could ever encounter. That's awesome. Obviously the devil's evil and stuff, but like, that was his past before he had the fall. But yeah, if you let's see if I can share my screen here. This is JFK Jr.'s grave site that someone brought up.
Anonymous says, "Here's something. Look at JFK's grave.
Yeah, right here.
It's done in the queue."
Yep, look at it. There you go. That's his gravesite right there. Yeah, and again, like I said, where we go one, we go all. The Great Awakening, the storm, now comes the pain. These are all like repeated constantly. These catchphrases, And like I said, like in 2018, it just seemed like gibberish. In early 2000, it seemed, or 2020, it seemed like, like I said, boomer psyop. But like in 2020, like during the pandemic, you started like, okay, this is weird. And then by right now, 2024, it's like I'm totally Q-tard. I'm all into it. Because like I said, even if it's all bullshit, it's like it did the right thing. It woke us all up. It got us all asking the right questions. So, whatever. Can't really fault it for what it did. But yeah, the idea that this great sting operation is coming soon. I mean, it's like one can only hope. It's the hopium. White pill.
Yeah. So for a two-banger, Shrapnel, thank you so much. Says Leon, look at my last chat. I will absolutely do that. Before I do that, you've earned yourself the Zelda chime.
Yeah. The best is yet to come. That's a common thing.
It wild to me. Let's scroll up for a moment. Look at your last chat. It says memes likes turtles.
I like turtles. Like that guy? Is that what you're talking about?
There's something I'm missing there, unless he's referring to the chat before that, which would be Grandpa was the chemical manager at Pantex, aka okay, you're probably talking about this one. Little Los Alamos. Some documents that my dad found in his old things talking about us constructing bases on the moon. Hollow Moon theory is something I would love to get into. I actually do. So the Hollow Moon theory is very interesting because as it currently stands, it really can't be disproven. And when we've done seismic testing on the moon, which does give off the impression that it is hollow. So if it is hollow, has it always been hollow? Did we hollow it out? Very, very interesting.
That was
also,
that movie.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that timescales.
What was that movie, Moonfall, where it was like so crazy, but like the idea that the moon is actually a mega structure built to like observe us. It's not a moon. It's an observatory. It's a satellite, like space base. There's also talks about pyramids on the dark side of the moon and pyramids on Mars and all that stuff. But that's like a totally other episode. But yeah, that's the other thing about Space Force.
I just love how this is just incorporating so many different
right. Yeah, I mean, it's almost like flat Earth theory. Like once you realize, like, I mean, I don't subscribe to flat Earth theory, but the idea is if we did find out the world was flat.
Actually, do you know why flat Earth why flat Earth theorists are often pedophiles?
Oh, why?
Because they like maps.
I was gonna say, is this a joke or you got to drop some knowledge?
Yeah, maps, because flat Earth map, minor attractive persons. Yeah, it was a dumb joke I just came up with on the spot. But anyway,
but the same thing can be true, like extrapolated from the idea, like if they're lying about this, not necessarily the flat Earth, but if they're lying about this crazy shit, like what else are they lying about? And then we talk about like adrenochrome and
we hadn't even got into adrenochrome yet, which I think this will be a great appetizer for it because Vex is coming on for a full adrenochrome episode.
Spirit cooking
next month. And
God!
Here's another problem with QAnon in that, because again, I'm, as much as I believe in certain aspects of it, it's also important to Steelman to remain skeptical of all things, not just things that confirm your bias. The way adrenochrome is proposed by the QAnon crowd is the exact same way it's used in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, the Hunter S.
Right.
Thompson book. So,
But what you have to understand,
I mean, that's a hard sell.
what you have to understand is adrenochrome is never mentioned in the Q post. It is brought up by Anons. You know, the Anons are the ones that are interpreting the Q posts, and they have their theories, you know, and adrenochrome gets brought up. Pizzagate gets brought up. I just looked up. Adrenochrome is not mentioned once in 4,000 posts. Pizzagate is brought up a couple times, two times in some links here and there. But yeah, the pizza hot dogs thing, we all know that that's like code that the maps use and stuff. It's like you said, like we keep saying, it's all encompassing. It's the grand conspiracy theory. Like this technically should have been like, you know, the season finale of this show, you know, instead of
maybe we should have had Q month.
Right.
Oh,
Or
dude,
that
Q
episode.
month.
What would have been cool is episode 17 should have been the Q episode. Oh well.
I mean, maybe we'll do a revisitation because episode 17 will be a ways into fucking Trump's presidency at that point. And so we could see how much has changed since Trump has taken office and what relates to with QAnon. That'd be interesting because this is only episode 6.
Yeah.
So
maybe we'll be all blackpilled and realize Q is all bullshit by then. You know, who knows? You know, President Trump was successfully assassinated by then. You know, who knows? There was another thing where they talk about how they keep bringing up POTUS. President is safe. President POTUS is isolated or whatever. He's on Air Force One. Let's see if I could find this. Oh damn, I don't know. It's so difficult to navigate.
Here's another thing that detractors often use and of QAnon. One of the big merits and tenets of the QAnon movement was do your own research.
Right.
Now, mind you, you guys remember this is 2017, 2018, not really in 2019, at least on the internet. By then, Q had left 8chan. By the way, we're actually skipping history here for a moment. So Q, as a poster, originated on 4chan. At one point, claims that 4chan had become compromised, so moves to 8chan. Now, there's arguments whether 4chan had become compromised or if 4chan actually, believe it or not, by this point had actually started to step up its moderation practices because of there had been CP on there had been snuff films, there had been people posting pictures of bodies of people that they had murdered. So 4chan was very willing to work with the police in terms of actual crimes. So it could be a moderation thing. Either way, Q moved to 8chan, which is not around anymore, sort of. It got shut down for a few months, revitalized as 8kun. I've not been on 8kun in a while, but yeah, it's another thing that used to. Yeah, and Hooks at Q lost his password when he died and was swapped out.
Right.
That is another part of the conspiracy. So
Jim
Watkins,
a couple of the Q posts talk about how like only rely on these message boards. Like anywhere else, it's not legit. You know, it's only going to be on 4chan, is what they said.
So Jim Watkins was and is the owner of 8chan/8kun. Jim's son is admittedly a full Q-tard. He's all in on this, just like Enzo is. And he actually ended up running for office. I don't remember if he won or not. I think he did. But basically, Jim Ferber was he started off as a 4chan mod. He was the son, or Jim Ferber was started off as a 4chan mod, created 8chan. His son Ron Ferber, all in on this QAnon stuff, and it's widely accepted that he's Q. I have my doubts about that. But before we get anything further, Gooch came in within 5 words of paradise. Give these Gooch. You didn't need you, but you did. My man with a plan. Thank you so much. We're man, we got to give you. Since you're here, Gooch, I feel like we got to give you this clip.
Harder, Leon. Harder.
Thank you so much, Gooch. You didn't need to, but you did. It means the absolute wild to me, and I hope you appreciated that clip. Anyway, so we've got Ron Ferber, who is purported to be Q. There was a documentarian who followed him around for 3 years doing a QAnon documentary who claims he basically caught Ron Ferber admitting he was Q, and Ron Ferber said, my goal was to wake up normies and basically teach them how to do intelligence gathering for normies by using my anonymous account. And then he pauses and he goes, but I'm not Q. It was a different account. People say that is confirmation that he is Q. It could go. There we go. Goose leaning into it. You love to see it. Harder, Leon. Harder.
Yeah.
So where do you stand on Ron Watkins' son, Jim Watkins, having any involvement with Q?
Yeah, I'm sure. That's the thing is like being involved in Q is a lot different from being Q. Like I said before, I think Q is many people, or at least many people operating a computer. But like the point is like Q is an operation. Q is a team effort. It is a very intricate and well planned operation that has been like I said in the works for 40 years. And like I said, the original plan was get Obama out, arrest him then. And they realized like, no, that would just make things worse.
Well, so
You got it.
When we
Yeah,
bring
they'd make a
Obama,
martyr out of him.
I go harken back to this one very interesting interview I watched right before Trump took office. Because obviously Trump wins the election, but you don't actually take office till the inauguration. So Trump is just the president-elect. So this would have been late 2016-ish. There was a reporter interviewing Obama, and he said, what would you do if you could be president a third time?
Yeah.
And Obama says, well, that doesn't matter. You can't run more than twice, or you can't be elected more than twice. I've done my 2 terms. And the reporter says like, well, yeah, but if you could, what would you do? And Obama once again tries to stave off the question. But why is that reporter asking that question? Even back in 2016, that rubbed me the wrong way. Like that's a very specific question, a very odd question to ask when we have accepted effectively since the inception of our country, minus FDR or Teddy Roosevelt, whichever one it was. I'm blanking for a moment. You only run twice. Like that's been
FDR.
a tenet of our country for years.
Yeah.
Why are you asking this in 2016 when that shouldn't even be a question, at least in my opinion?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the other thing they talk about. Like I've talked about this before. Like what happens if they prove that Trump did win 2020? Like, isn't he technically owed a whole nother term? But he probably won't do that. I mean, like I said, he was probably secretly president the whole time. This is a big post right here. Renegade. Renegade is Obama's Secret Service name. Basically, a renegade is a person who deserts or betrays an organization, country, or set of principles. The post under this for May 4th, 2020 says, why did it's always in brackets. Why did Hussein Barry, they always call him Hussein, why did Hussein Barry choose Renegade as his U.S. Secret Service code name? Define Renegade. Hussein Barry, parents both fluent in Russian? ? Is Russian a common language to learn? Public career history, mom, dad, public career history require Russian language as prerequisite. These are all questions. Farm work takes special skills. The renegade thing is just like a common thing they keep bringing up, like Obama, Barry, Hussein. They keep bringing up this idea that he is, not working in the best interest of the government. There's just a lot of stuff also involving, like for instance, the armor of God. That was another thing they keep bringing up. The armor of God. Trump's assassination attempt was a huge like that seemed like divine intervention. How close he came to dying.
I 100% believe that his assassination, the failed assassination attempt, was divine intervention. Also, Bruce McFadden. Wasn't Wilson 3 terms? No. Wilson was going to run for a 3rd term. Then he got sick and couldn't do it. But he could have been a 3-term president had his sickness not taken. And then Foxy Moxie coming in with them 5 words of paradise gift. Oh, girl, you didn't need to. You did. I appreciate it. It means the absolute wild to me. Bingo, bango, bongo. I flipped the script. I did shit out of order. I got to keep you on your toes, considering how much you know that I hate feet. We will give you the clip, the personalized clip for you.
Utram Shredder? Sounds Swedish.
Stop it! Can't you guys be serious about anything?
Why are there like 10 turtles in that thing? What's going on there?
Okay, real quick tangent. It'll be quick before we get back to the conspiracy theories. No, so that is the Turtles. What was the name of the special? Basically, it's a special. Yeah, where the 2003 Turtles meet the 84 Turtles or the 87 Turtles, and then at the end of it, they go into the comic books and meet the original 84 Turtles. And
that was a good one.
It's a clip from that.
That was excellent.
Yeah,
I was blown away by how good that was. I was blown away by how good it was.
Dude, it's so good. And then Trashy Drifter coming in with a $4.99 banger. I don't know. I read some of the Q stuff. Some things do connect some dots. I'm gonna give you a clip, and then we'll touch on that because that's what are we gonna give you? We're gonna give you
y'all can clip me all you want. I think Alyssa McConaughey has a nice ass, but I guarantee you she doesn't shave her armpits. So I'm good.
Yeah.
There we go. Leave me with that, Trashy. Thank you so much, my man. You didn't need to, but you did, and it means the absolute wild to me. And yes, some things connect the dots. That is when they try to discredit QAnon, what they effectively say is that it's like Nostradamus. He made Q, whether it be a he, a computer, a conglomeration of individuals, made hundreds, if not thousands, of predictions. Of course, some will come true. Therefore, that's why you can connect the dots. However, I wildly disagree with that. Sammy, I'm sure you got opinions. Then we'll let Enzo speak his piece. Sammy, what are your thoughts on this comment right here?
You know what? Yeah, I think some of it's very hit or miss. I mean, I like how Enzo put it. I like to believe that this is true. This is, but I can't expect how many of those drops did you say there were? You said there were
over
like
4,000. Yeah, about
okay,
5,000.
4,000. Yeah, they're not all. I don't think all of them are going to hit the mark. You know what I mean? Especially depending on who it is, whether you said it, whether it be a computer or multiple people doing this or just one guy. When you got like 4,000 of these or more dropping, they're not all going to be spot on.
Also, a lot of them are repeated. A lot of them are repeated. Like I was saying, Armor of God is repeated a lot of times. Have faith in humanity, have faith in yourself, have faith in God, the Great Awakening. That kind of stuff is a lot of is repeated ad nauseum. It's just like drilling these messages. So yeah, how many like original Q posts are there? Like I don't even know. There's a whole fuckload of them, but yeah, at a certain point, it's like,
let's harken back to something you said earlier that Q is, in your opinion, a quantum computer. Which, by the way, we've been trying to understand the concept. You can go on any episode of Joe Rogan when he's got physicists on and individuals who are very into robotics, and they're talking about trying to crack the quantum computer because they understand the science of it, but we supposedly don't have the technology for it. Obviously, now I remember. I think it was actually Moxie herself that said this, but if it wasn't her, it was somebody else. Now, my grandfather said the same thing. My grandfather was special forces, had top secret clearance, has been to Area 51. He said, basically whatever technology you have right now, the government is 20 years ahead. That is absolutely normal. There's a reason that my whole family is generations starting with my grandfather of IT. My grandfather did it. My dad did it. Now I do it. Do IT. He was fucking special forces for the government, got top secret clearance, then got into fucking fixing government computers and whatnot. And that just sort of bled throughout the family. So yes, there's obviously, if modern day scientists that are not affiliated with the government are having trouble cracking the quantum computer, I can imagine that there is one out there. There is access to it. Again, that goes back to Project Looking Glass. However, these are still calculations, and there's a reason that you can be wrong about X, Y, Z, and that's because, sure, maybe there's a 95% chance of something, or even a 99% chance of something, a prediction being made. There's still that 5% chance, that 1% chance, whatever, of it ended up being false, so or not coming to fruition.
Also, the idea that the future is malleable, or the fact that you intentionally say something wrong to guide people into the right way, like the Oracle in Matrix, you watch out for that. Watch out for that Vost. Yeah. Would you have knocked it over if I said anything? That's the kind of vibe we're going here. Direction and misdirection, 5D chess. It's all brought up constantly.
I still remember seeing that movie in like 6th grade. And then when that line dropped, I was just like, holy shit.
Dude, after that.
By the way, Leonard, you say you think they're more than 20 years ahead. That could entirely be true by this point. Remember, when my grandfather was giving this information was the late 60s, early 70s, like 67 through 73. And maybe at that point it was 20 years, but because of the rapid expansive technology, they could have absolutely gone further than 20 years by this point, because that's 40, 50 years ago at this point.
Totally. I was watching Jumanji, and they keep saying like it took place in 1969. And then 26 years later, we're in 1995. I was like, Jesus Christ, dude, 1969 is almost 40 years ago now. God, I don't like that at all. It's scary.
No.
No, 1969 is more than that. 1969 is, I think,
55 years ago. Yeah, exactly.
54 years ago, 55 years ago.
Yeah, you're right. They keep saying 26 years. I've been gone for 26 years. It's like, that's it? What?
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah. We were almost upset the kitty girl last night yesterday with the
we got her and I talked about it afterwards. She's cool. Kitty's fine. She's cool. Anyway, we never actually touched on this point. I brought it up, then we moved on further. So a big tenet of QAnon was do your own research, and that is because there is, at this point, it cannot be, it's not a conspiracy theory to state that our own government and media lies to us. And they try to use doing your own research as a way to discredit QAnon believers because, oh, they're doing their own research, not listening to MSM. Motherfucker, look at what we saw with COVID. Look at what we saw with 2020 and the obvious stealing. Look at what we saw with insert all these provable. Look at what we saw with the Twitter files, finding out that the FBI had a back door into Twitter before it was X. So yes, of course, do your own research. No one on God's green earth trusts. Okay, nobody would have a brain on God's green earth trusts what the government is telling them.
Yeah,
or the media, or both. Really, the media is just an arm of the government, or maybe I actually believe the government's an arm of the media, but that's just me. But anyway, point is that's a good tenet to have, and of course, people like CNN and people like MSNBC when they're chastising QAnon in their various exposés would use that. Of course, they would use that as a net negative because they don't want people doing their own research. They want people to fall in line because they are sheep.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we talk about like what's been repeated the most. Obviously, Q's been repeated like 4,320 times. Where we go one, we go all, is 122 times. Coincidence repeated 81 times. Why is this relevant? 73 times. Logical thinking, that's 53 times. Expand your thinking, that's been repeated 40 times. You have more than you know, 37 times. Like these are like little tidbits, and also trust the plan. That's a big one, Again, it's like that's where the dissenters and disagreeers talk about how it's like something to keep us complacent and let the New World Order take over. They think that Trump is actually a plant and he's ushering in the New World Order himself. I don't believe that at all.
I don't believe that the slightest because so it would be so much easier to just get a president or a leader of whatever that wants the New World Order. That's a very charismatic and can speak to the people, and then just incite a war that would bring about the New World Order. Like that would be so much simpler than installing somebody who's secretly against it and spent 4 years fighting against it and then got dragged into the media for 4 years and then install him a second time after a 4-year absence to then bring about the New World. Like that plan is so overly complicated. It doesn't work.
He was already a super rich celebrity. He had no reason to do that.
Episode.
Yeah,
we will be doing a moon landing episode.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Joker's Disciple coming in for a 2-banger. Agent Smith is the one. You all know it's true, man. And you know what? Because I see where you're going, I tip my tinfoil hat to you. You get yourself a Zelda chime.
Yeah, I mean, when they talk about how Trump is the Antichrist, it's like, well, when you read the Bible, the Antichrist is universally loved, and based on that logic, I mean, Obama is more likely to be the Antichrist than anybody because everyone loved him when he first showed up. Everyone was like,
we had a long conversation with a like not far right. When I say far, I mean they have not actually far right, but they have staunchly far right. Like they're strong right leaning beliefs, very Christian. I had a late night conversation with a strong right leaning Christian conservative who did believe that Trump was the Antichrist, and he and I had a good 3-hour theological debate about it, and it was a lot of fun. It was really cool. I think by the end I convinced him maybe not that Trump wasn't the Antichrist, but to at least open to the possibility of, you were wrong on this, let's look at some other candidates. He started questioning things like Elon and whatnot. Now this is about a year or so ago, and obviously times have changed since then, so I don't know where he falls on that now, but that was, again, it was a very interesting, cool, enlightening conversation. But the point, there are staunchly right-leaning Christian individuals that do believe that Trump is the Antichrist, which I can't wrap my head around, because being somebody who does, in my opinion, have a fair share of biblical knowledge, he doesn't meet the criteria. He meets a few points, and that's not enough for me.
Well, any political leader can meet a couple of those key points,
right,
going biblically.
So again, like I said, X22 report, you can find all the Q posts, and they're easily searchable here. But if you look at the very last Q post from November 27, 2022, it says, "What is coded in your DNA? Who put it there? Why? Mankind is repressed. We will be repressed no more. Information is knowledge. Knowledge is power. Information is power. How do you protect your DNA? There is a war for your DNA. Protect your DNA. Ascension." It's just like this idea that there's something something bigger than what we know is happening right now in terms of this spiritual warfare that we're going through right now. Literally, the end goal for these bad guys is to, like I said, cull the population, enslave the survivors. You will own nothing and be happy type stuff. Live in
You will
Wally
eat
World.
the bugs. You will eat the bugs.
Yeah, we've joked about Klaus Schwab before on my channel, at least, like how he dresses like a goddamn Star Wars villain. It's just like, come on, dude. Like the guy looks like a Dracula, Trump is an old fam.
Sorry, you throwing the R at the end of Dracula. That was funny. Sorry.
That's Dudicus. Dudicus. I got that from him. Draculars. Yeah, I love it. Also, I love how Norm Macdonald always calls them like Draculas, like plural, like vampires.
Yeah.
A bunch of Draculas running around. Yeah. But again, like, the Pizzagate blood drinking stuff, that is all like hypothesized by Anons. That is not explicitly outright stated.
No, sorry. Continue. Now I'll give. I've got an anecdote about Pizzagate, but continue.
Well, no, that's not. None of that is outright stated in the Q post. That again is like, the Anons. Like I said, there's Q and then there's the Anons, and the Anons, they all have their own theories about what's going on, and how much of that is true. We won't know until. I'd like to think 4 years from now we could look back on this stream and be like, God damn, it was all right. It was all true. Everything's great now. Who knows? Or we'll all be enslaved / dead by then. Who knows?
The answer to this, with my cursory understanding, because I actually have looked into this, because this is something that I've thought very heavily on, as how World War III would be fought, would be biological warfare like this. No, not to every person's DNA. Now, they could probably do a virus that hits 90, 95, maybe even 98% of people. There will always be individuals with some sort of genetic anomaly that will not that will have effectively immunity. Those individuals might be able to still technically carry the virus and therefore spread it themselves, but they themselves would be biologically immune. Again, based on what I've read about it, I'm not a biologist, but I got a decent cursory understanding of it. So.
Yeah, and as far as like what Hook is saying about the blood drinkers, like the question is like, are they just people that are sick that just drink people's blood because they like it, or are they literally like vampires who gain power from drinking blood? Like, who knows? We know that people put the foreskin creams on their faces and it rejuvenates their skin. We know that the stem cells have a rejuvenating effect on people. That's why you got to pay tons of money for those foreskin creams. So who knows the stem cells and all that stuff. There is like
cost
some kind
an
of
arm and a dick.
I had a really lousy circumcision. It was a ripoff.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Okay. Pizzagate. This is what I want to bring up. So there was an individual who he fell very far down to the QAnon. Well, not even the QAnon rabbit hole. It was the Pizzagate rabbit hole, and he went to Comet's Pizza with a rifle. I believe an AR-15.
Oh, yeah.
Hold me on that. It was a rifle. Did not harm anyone. Didn't discharge the weapon. Nothing. He went to supposedly check out the basement, which again, supposedly there was no basement. He was arrested. He gave himself up to the authorities willingly, signed a plea deal, got 4 years in prison. And that to me is almost like a precursor of J6. Like, dude went to an establishment, brandished a weapon. No one hurt. He didn't hurt anyone. Got 4 years in prison. I bet there was some talks between the sentencing and the action, or the action of the sentencing, if we're going to do it chronologically correct. That was the reason he was only the reason he only got 4 years. And in all reality, I don't think he should have gotten 4 years. This should have been like slap on the wrist sort of thing, since it's not illegal to carry a weapon. It would have been a trespassing thing at best, so far as I could tell. So yeah, that was
Didn't another guy run into Comet Pizza and just shoot up a hard drive? That was the only thing that he shot up.
I think that's the same guy.
Yeah. No, but he didn't even, at least, again, assuming that I'm correct in this, he didn't even discharge his weapon. He went into the room and found a bunch of old OPS or POS, point of sale equipment, hard drive computers, the whole nine. I never read anything about him discharging the weapon. He may have fucked them up, may have trashed them, may have stomped on them and whatnot. But so far as I can tell, he never actually made a shot.
What is it? CSI? No, not CSI. Law and Order Special Victims Unit. There's a Special Victims Unit episode that's kind of referencing the Pizzagate shooter. walks into a Chinese restaurant looking for the basement of children, oh man, SVU is becoming quickly one of my favorite awful shows to watch. There's so many hilarious episodes.
I fucking hate SVU. That shit,
It's so bad.
It just makes me angry.
It's
it makes
so
me
terrible.
angry.
Yeah. But the point
Children's
is,
Disciple for a two-banger. We got to force behaviors, bruh. Evil billionaire. Absolutely. Yeah. You get it. You understand it. Let's see. We're going to give you a clip as well. Let's see. What do we want to get? We'll give you Japanese Spider-Man, Joe Disciple. Thank you so much, man. You didn't need to do what you did. It means the absolute wild to me. Bingo, bango, a goddamn bongo. Here's some Japanese Spider-Man.
Find Peter Parker.
Who the hell are you?
Spider-Man.
dude, you should do a sequel clip to that where it's instead of a Japanese Spider-Man, you should do Italian Spider-Man. He's always been my favorite.
Italian Spider-Man is pretty great.
I love Italian Spider-Man. But yeah, I mean, as far as those of you watching that are on the fence or think we're full of shit, again, it's like, look it up yourself. Go check out the Q post yourself. Go look on Twitter and search Q proofs or Q Delta, things like that. You'll see a lot of crazy crap that's like makes you scratch your head. A lot of it might look confusing and strange. Again, check out X22 Report and some of these other accounts on Twitter that are very into Q. Like, it's weird, man. It's a one of those things where it's scary but exciting at the same time. It's a fun conspiracy theory that I like to talk about.
You have a reason. You would think that in the coming of the 2024 election, while we're on the upswing, that you would have seen a revival, I guess, of this conspiracy. But so far as I can tell, we never got one. Q never did, quote unquote, like come back. It seems like it would have been the perfect time for him to, or maybe it's actually better that he didn't, because that would have been ammo for the mainstream media. So what are your thoughts on where Q is now, why he didn't come back, or why it didn't come back, the whole nine, and why there's been silence since effectively the pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there was a pause, and then he came back briefly during the pandemic with a few more posts. But yeah, I think it's one of those things where he said before, Q has said before, we have the information, and I think like everything that needs to be said has been said in the Q post, because it's not about outright saying things. It's about kind of just nudging us, the Anons, in the right direction, and just kind of helping us wake up to this great awakening. This whole, like, when you realize what's going on, like, a lot of people are going to freak out, and it's up to us, the people that are already kind of knowledgeable about this, to explain and answer questions and kind of calm everyone down. I think
the freak out part, you're 100% on board with. My my roommate Cookies, we'll watch Tim Cass together and whatnot. Then he will have literal nightmares about World War III, the end of the world, things that affect, like watching non-mainstream media news while he's very conspiratorial, while he's very into it, also fucks with his psyche in a way that he is nervous about everything. Dude, I'm glad you're thinking about this stuff. It's important that we be awake and think about it. But living in this sort of fear is no way to live your life.
Yeah. One of the most repeated things in the Bible is one of the most repeated phrases in the Bible is do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. You know how many times that is said in the Bible? Like hundreds of times. And
Yes.
Same thing with the Q posts, trust the plan, you have your popcorn ready, enjoy the show. These kind of things are saying like, yeah, it's scary times, but do not be afraid. I mean, that's the thing. And this is something my mother's told me before, and it has some pretty good, life lessons. Like God gives us these challenges, these trials, these scary things. God doesn't want us to be afraid. God wants us to be brave in the face of fear, in the face of obstacles, in the face of personal trials and tribulations. God will give us these, these hurdles that may seem very intimidating and scary, but God gives us these because he wants to see us face them. He wants to see us be brave, even if it is.
I would actually argue that like the fear is necessary, and what's wanted is to overcome that fear so that you can move forward.
You can't be brave unless you're afraid,
Right.
Yeah. And again, this has nothing to do with this has nothing to do with Q. What I'm talking about right now. This talks about like
it sort of does in a way though, because the ideology is, and the belief system is there. Like if enough people believed in Q, believed in the conspiracy theory, woke them up to believing in this government cabal, and instead of being afraid of it, are waking up to the idea of moving forward and facing that adversity as a loose but collective unit. Again, I don't know about either of you two, and feel free to answer. I have never been, and this is I'm speaking prior to the election of Donald Trump. I've never been more confident, and maybe that I do have worries that confidence is misplaced or misguided. Like, oh, if I get confident, maybe I'm going to overlook XYZ. But as a general rule, as a general thing, for the last probably 8 or so months, I've probably been the most confident in the future that I've ever been.
Same. I've been super white pilled. My chick Meg, she's very black pilled, and she makes fun of me for being a Q-tard. And it's one of those things where it's like, one of us is going to get proven right eventually. But even outside of the Q, what I meant is not just Q. I mean, bigger than Q. Like, let's say you get a cancer diagnosis, or facing every human dies. We all have our own mortality. When your time comes to die, like, don't be afraid. It's how many people faced with their death, they face it head on with bravery. Don't think of it like I'm dying. This is all going to end. Just think this is on to the next plane, on to the next great journey. Remember in Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom, when the little Asian guy dies at the beginning, he's like, I go first, Indy, to the great journey beyond. That's kind of the way you should approach it. Have this, optimism, face your fears, face your challenges, headstrong, confident in yourself. Otherwise you'll lose the battle, right as I said that, Draco said that. But yeah,
I'm actually really glad you made an Indiana Jones reference. I don't remember what was said earlier, but something that was said earlier made me think of Indiana Jones, and I held my fucking tongue because I had a thought about not Raiders of the Lost Ark, The Last Crusade. I was like, no, this is his movie stream. I'll hold my tongue. But then you brought up Temple of Doom. I was like, yes, Indy made his appearance. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of that going around.
Temple of Doom is my favorite one. I'm sorry. I know that's an unpopular opinion. I will agree that Last Crusade is the best one, but my favorite is Temple. I'm sorry.
I think Raiders is the best, but I love all three. It's my favorite trilogy of all time. I get it. There's Star Wars fans out there, and there's Lord of the Rings out there. I love Star Wars as an IP more, but like when it comes to just a trilogy of movies, the Indiana Jones trilogy is my favorite films of all time.
Yeah, remember
when nothing to do with QAnon, but I just feel like it's worth
repeating
because Indiana Jones is that fucking good.
No. The Cabal ruined Indiana Jones.
Well, that's the thing is, like, when you find out some of these celebrities, like I've always said, like certain celebrities, they can't be involved in this stuff, like Jeff Daniels from Dumb and Dumber. He strikes me as a guy who's not involved in any of this, Pizzagate nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
But then you find out like some of these other celebrities, like you're like, not him. Like when you see the Marina Abramovich spirit cooking sessions and Lady Gaga's there, but then you see like, oh, Will Ferrell's there and Katy Perry's there.
Okay, so I've looked into that, but I couldn't confirm whether it was real or not. Was that really true?
The spirit cooking shit, it's totally real.
No, I know the spirit cooking shit is true, but like the photo of Lady Gaga being there, was that not Photoshop? Like, was that real? Because
yeah, she's there, and they're eating like a fake dessert of like it's like a lady laying in a tub of like fake blood, edible, like something that looks like blood. But the idea is like another big repeated things in the Q post is symbolism will be their downfall. Like these black hats, these bad guys, these cabal members, the deep state, they cannot help but have to like wink and give little signals to what they're doing.
Well, we see that in Bohemian Grove. If what is reported is to be believed, they're not actually sacrificing children in Bohemian Grove, but they are sacrificing fake childlike idols, which is still really fucked up.
Yeah. And like I said, dude, most people aren't ready to find out what Oprah's really like, or Tom Hanks, not Forrest Gump. You're not him. No, him. And when you find out,
that's my least favorite movie of all time. So I not that I wanted any children to be raped, but if children are gonna be raped, I want it to be Tom Hanks doing it so that we can throw the book at him and get rid of him because I fucking hate Tom Hanks.
Yeah, dude, his pictures of weird little children's shoes and stuff. Like, I mean, come on, dude. The Black Eye Club's another big thing. Like recently, Jay Leno has a huge black eye. Half of his face is black.
He fell down a hill, Enzo.
Allegedly,
he fell
but
down a
Yeah.
hill.
But when you find out like how many of these celebrities have been, showcased, showing off black eyes, again, this all ties back to the Skull and Bones, Illuminati types rituals they have, initiations.
George W. Bush was a part of, and his father was a part of, and
also the satanic sacrifices. Like how many famous people have lost a loved one, and the rumor is, satanic sacrifices. Like I heard one of the good ones is Red Hot Chili Peppers. Flea and Anthony Kiedis sacrificed River Phoenix to the devil, so that way Blood, Sex, Sugar Magic could be a hit, and that's why they named it Blood, Sex, Sugar Magic. All this kind of stuff.
By the way, that's just my favorite RACP album. I'm just throwing that out there.
It's everyone's favorite. It's everyone's favorite. And again, this is why the devil works his ways in the music. Like he literally helps them make good music because you sacrifice someone to the devil. The same thing with Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey's one of those guys who's like, you can tell like he doesn't like what he's involved in. And he had something to do with his, he had an ex that passed away. And I think that was like a big.
He passed away. You mean an ex that he intentionally gave an STD to by not disclosing he had an STD, and then bought her over instead of getting a medication prescription from the doctor, bought it from a dealer, gave it to her, and she overdosed. Right.
But when you see what Jim's been saying,
I'm a Jim Carrey hater specifically for that reason.
No, but when you see what Jim's been saying lately, you can tell there's a exactly. I'm not suicidal or into self-harm. Thank you, Hook. Yeah, that goes without saying. If I mysteriously die, you know that HRC got me. I got Arkancided. But yeah, Jim Carrey lately has been doing a lot of, signaling that he's not about this. Like he was on the talk show talking about,
Oh yeah, he was doing.
I feel like he's kind of turning heads. That's why he wants to get out of you hear about this a lot, where a lot of celebrities get out of the life, they get out of Hollywood. Cameron Diaz was one, and their lives like improved drastically. This is why Jeff Daniels seems like a good.
He retired from acting. The only reason he's coming back for Sonic 3 is because his grandchildren are big Sonic fans. They want to do it. If it weren't for that, he wouldn't like. And oddly enough, it's the love of a child and not the fucked up kind that you see Bohemian Grove that brought him back in for one more romp. Like
also the other thing about like some of these works of art, like when work of art is actually told with the honest, artistic intentions. Like, I feel like the Sonic movies are a part of that. Like the Sonic movies seem pure. They seem like they're not tainted by this Illuminati crap or messaging or anything like that. And, human beings, like we can instinctively tell.
I would say it's an inherent thing when you watch a film and you realize that there is, that it is made with some sort of spiritual artistic integrity.
Right. God, again, God is, he communicates us many ways. You see this a lot with music or when like someone's doing a solo. Sometimes when someone's like in the pocket hitting the notes, like the audience knows it, the band knows it, where something greater is being channeled. Same thing with, you see it with actors when they were hitting that performance. Sometimes there is something divine happening when the art is like transcending and it's becoming like, this is amazing. This is really good. This is otherworldly, what we're experiencing right now. And you can't really
I go back to the song Shine by Collective Soul, which Collective Soul is not a Christian band, but what's their biggest song? The song that says, "Heaven, let your light shine down."
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's some great, and I'm not overtly religious. I'm Roman Catholic. I don't go to church a lot, especially nowadays with all the churches have been infiltrated. Yeah. All the churches have been infiltrated, but again, it's all about like a transcendental experience, like Jake Martin's saying. We understand it intuitively. Like there's only like 7 or 8 stories that keep being retold in different ways, and this is why modern storytelling sucks, because I've said this before, like typically you tell a story and we humans, we watch the story and we interpret it and we analyze it and we come up with our own meanings. Whereas like modern day, you have a meaning or a message you want to convey and you write a story around that message to convey the message. That's why these stories seem fake, forced, trivial. They seem derivative because we can instinctively pick it up. Even if you don't need to be an art critic or a movie.
But even that you can tie back to QAnon, because if I recall, there was a Q post that talks about how something along the lines of art will die or the government will create artificial art, something like that. I don't remember what the exact post was, but if you've got them, I'm pretty sure you still got them up. You can do a word search for art.
Look this up. I will.
And I don't know if it was Q that posted it or if it was an anon because like
Well, yeah, the anons have a lot of posts too. So yeah, but and that's the thing is like there was a period of time during the Q post where like Q was communicating to the anons. The anons would pose questions, and you know, sometimes Q would answer, which is crazy. But like if I look up art, for instance, I'll see. Let's see here. Nothing. Oh yeah, I'm saying art, and it picks up words like started. This might be harder than I think. But as far as
do art space.
Art space. There you go.
Because if it's just the word art, there'll be if you put the space, it'll just narrow it down to art.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good art space. Now again, just like picking up a lot of and there's so many posts though.
It may have been anon.
A lot of
it, so I could be off on that.
But as far as like what you're talking about,
it is very interesting to note since we're talking about you know, actually Q and posting stuff. The last post Q made to 8chan was simply posting the music video for Twisted Sisters. We're not going to take it.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Trump constantly uses music that's used in the Q posts. Nessun Dorma, the opera, also. There's literally like an orchestral song called "Where We Go One, We Go All," the abbreviation anyway. And he's used that music before in his political videos and his background music. Also, the other thing is like Dan Scavino's a big guy that's involved in the Q stuff because he's like running, you know, social media basically for Trump, and he'll make very cryptic videos that are a certain length. And when you look up that number, the number of seconds or minutes it'll direct you to a Q post that says exactly what the video's saying. It's just very weird stuff like that. But again, like what you're talking about, how, you know, this divine artistic interpretation. Yeah, the idea like trust the plan, God, you know, have faith, you know, God, it's going to be biblical. That's something they keep talking about. It's going to be biblical. Like, this is the ultimate battle between good and evil. We're basically living through the Stand right now. We don't even realize it, you know?
To steelman this a bit, the detractors would say that one of the big reasons for QAnon taking off is because you have a lot of quote unquote right-wing influencers that got involved in QAnon, and they will use this sort of symbolism and messaging really as kind of the OG, not OG, but just the ultimate grift. You put Q on t-shirts, you put Q on stickers, you talk about in your videos to get ad revenue, and you can effectively make yourself an overnight, not really overnight, but overnight millionaire by propagating this false conspiracy theory and selling all this merch to get into it. And there's really just a big money sham.
I think that was another reason why Q came back in the pandemic, because like I think that was like we need more guidance because things are looking dark. And this is the third to last Q post from November 27, 2022. It says, "Beware of false prophets. I am not a prophet. You are not a prophet. We are not prophets. Focus on the mission." Q. Things like that are kind of like, okay, you know.
See, and tie that back to people that propagate Q as just a way of literally making profit. And that's like, oh, false prophet all of a sudden gets like a double entendre there.
Plants, they're called, you know, and the idea that like people are working, you know, secretly, like the idea that there are Trump supporters right now that are waiting for the order to turn on Trump and vice versa. There are people that are in the deep state waiting for the right moment to where they're ordered to turn on the deep state, you know. This is a epic battle being waged according to
Order 66 of the deep state.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, you know, it's one of these things, like you said, it's just such a rabbit hole. We've been talking for an hour and 43 minutes about it. And it's like, there's so much to still go over. And it's one of those things where like I encourage everyone watching to literally, you know, dive into this. Stupenzo, literally every person in the media predicting all of these things he's going to do, their prophets. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I agree. I mean, it's one of these things where, you know, there's a plan, you know, trust the plan, they keep saying. And it's, you know, like how many coincidences can there be before it just, you know, we all kind of accept like, okay, maybe there is something more to this Q stuff than just some autist on 8chan, 4chan, you know, trying to troll us. It's got to be something bigger than that, especially when you look at the deltas that Trump himself has done. It's, like I said, hundreds of them. The deltas are like I said, really, if you're into numerology and all those astonishing coincidences, like the deltas are really creepy. False prophets. Yeah.
I will say that to sort of round this out, we got 15 minutes left. We might cut slightly early so that Sammy can get over to Cooch's show.
True.
But the the thing that hits home the most, the one thing that I think everyone should at least take a look at is the Epstein stuff. You can, when posted on 4chan of all places, was the time and death of the suicide, and it turned out to be accurate, and it was reported before any piece of mainstream media or Twitter or whatnot got a hold of it. You could say, oh, a guard hopped on 4chan and posted it, and I mean, I guess maybe I mean, I'm an ex-prison guard and I used 4chan, not at the same time, but I'm an ex-4chan user who is also an ex-guard. So I mean, I'm not going to say the people that work in those environments don't post on 4chan, but you play an odds game, and like, what are the odds that some random guard decides to break the news to 4chan of all places that Epstein killed himself, quote unquote? It just doesn't seem rational.
The Tomby army has arrived.
I've had like 23 different jobs, Boosh. Yeah, I've had a lot of jobs.
Wow. I think I've had like 6.
I've had a lot.
I'm one of those guys where I work at a place for years and years before I move on to the next place.
Until the job I have currently, I was the opposite. I would work at a place for 6 months, get bored, and move on.
Wow.
But I've had the job I've had now for the last 6 years. So
nice. Yeah, good stuff. And yeah, it's been fun to be here and, revel in the conspiratorial nonsense and doubters in the chat and believers in the chat. One thing is for sure certain, we're all in this together,
where we go one, we go all.
Right, exactly. Whether you think it's all bullshit, or you think absolutely God is like literally involved in this war between the devil and heaven and hell. It doesn't matter. The point is, like, there are bad people out there that don't want our best interests in mind. And they need to be out of power. They need to stop running the show. It's not working out. We all know for a fact that our money is getting more and more worthless every day. The borders are dissolving. These people want a one world government. They want us to own nothing. It's not a good future for what these people are proposing. And I think there is a golden era ahead of us. I think the best is yet to come. And it doesn't matter if you believe in Q or not. I think those things are true. Exactly. Exactly. What the bad guys are up to. I remember those big tablets. What were they called? They were recently exploded. They were recently like vandalized and destroyed.
You're talking about the Georgia Guidestones, Georgia Keystones. That is good. It's good that those got blown the fuck up, because if you've ever actually read those tablets, that was not. You see this meme propagating on X and Facebook and places that, like, there's these Georgia Guidestones that are meant to teach us how to restart a civilization if humanity ever goes into a post-apocalyptic event. Then you actually read them, and they say things like humanity must be kept under a population of 500,000. There must be a one world order. It was, dude. The Georgia Guidestones were straight up Illuminati propaganda. That's another great episode we should do, by the way, because if you look into the history, we didn't know who made those until years after his death. It was all privately financed under a false name. The only dude who knew the guy's name was the literal president of the banking corporation that ended up signing off on it. The Georgia Guidestones was wild. I'm glad they're gone. I don't exactly support terrorism, because at the end of the day, that isn't domestic terrorism. However, I'm glad they're gone. That shit was terrifying. That would be a great episode. And we got 12 minutes. We'll round it out here. We'll start with Sammy. Sammy, first things first. After having this long dialogue about QAnon that we've had, where do you think we are headed for the future? We'll all answer this. Where do you think the future is headed? Start with Sammy.
I'd like to think that it's heading towards kind of a positive. We're if Trump can really go in and start weeding some of these assholes out and, bringing an aspect of transparency to the government and something that we've been sorely lacking.
More parency, less trans. Sorry, go on.
No, absolutely. But no, I was like, I know I was awfully quiet, but I was like, I kind of figured Enzo was going to pick up the ball and run with this one, so I was just enjoying. No, dude, it's totally fine. One of the reasons that we started the show was like, when someone's got something that they're passionate to talk about, interrupt with a quip every now and then. But yeah, no, I was very interested. Also, my computer's running hot. What's a normal temp that should be?
It shouldn't be hot enough to cook an egg or anything like that. So, if that's if it's like too
Mine's
hot to
currently
put your
running
hand
at-
on.
Mine's currently running at 40 degrees Celsius, which I believe is like 100-ish, 90-ish degrees, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, mine's at
Yeah.
like.
And I've
79.
got the green check mark saying that that's okay, that it's good. So I use Speed Fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine's at like 79, and it's pissing me off.
Yeah, maybe adjust if you can adjust your fans. If you don't download the program Speed Fan, and you can literally just manually adjust your fans with that program. It's literally by clicking a button. It's great.
Thank you, sir.
Wow. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned,
before you answer, Hook came in with a 2-banger. God with us, God for us. You're goddamn right. I probably shouldn't have said that and referenced that, but I couldn't pass up the opportunity. You will get what may be the final clip of the night. Thank you so much. Let's have Badger abusing Nerd Wars.
It's a party. The more the merrier. Isn't that right, Si? My IV.
Yeah, I've always been in the boat that taking the Lord's name in vain doesn't mean saying God damn. It means using the Lord to tell your lies. That's kind of what I mean by taking the Lord's name in vain. Saying God says this, so you do this, even though it's a lie. It's something you made up. That's kind of what I've always thought of. But
I'm kind of in the same boat.
And as far as where we're going in the future, like a big hurdle that we were all approaching was like it was all leading up to the election. So see how the election goes. Now the election's behind us and it went pretty well. So now it's all about the next couple months. Does Trump actually get into office? Let's see if that happens. Once he's in, there's still hurdles to go. And I think even after this, the plan has happened and the storm's behind us and let's say everything gets taken down in the 10 days of darkness. Let's say it all happens. There's still a global effort after that, So, we're not going to be out of the woods just yet, even if this is a great spiritual war. Let's see what happens. We'll see how it goes. The point is we're all in it together. And as long as we all stick together and, ride it out together, I think it will be okay. Noah and the Ark type stuff.
You love to see it. As for me, I think that we are in for a beautiful future. I think there's going to be trials and tribulations, as there always is. However, those trials and tribulations do serve to make us stronger, whether it be as an individual, whether it be as a populist. I think everyone is going to, not everybody, but a majority of folks are going to, if they've not already had the sort of great awakening moment. And that great awakening moment has only fostered what I think is going to be what is effectively a new golden age of America. Not only because of Trump, I do think Trump is a big part of that. We are seeing things like the coalition of former liberals, individuals that were relatively apolitical, the modern day MAGA movement, which is a complete rallying cry of defiance against the Uniparty. And at the end of the day, even if this is a dumb conspiracy theory that ended up not being true, the fact that it was able to propagate enough and the fact that the entire mainstream media was against it after we saw, or prior to us, a lot of folks seeing the lies of the mainstream media when it comes to things like COVID, Donald Trump. You know what? Net positive, even if we were wrong on 90% of the details. Hey, if they were right about anything, it at least was the Jeffrey Epstein stuff. And that's the one thing alone. If you're going to be right about something, being right about that was pretty fucking fantastic. But let's go ahead, do some outros. Enzo, we'll start with you. What do you got going on in the coming days?
Yeah, on my channel, it's about the jokes. It's about watching movies and goofing off. Tomorrow, in honor of Thanksgiving, we got a full-length We Watch commentary video for the movie The Stuff, the dessert that eats you. So that's fun. Sammy was there. We're going to be, watching a few good movies. I think all Christmas, December, we're going to be doing Nick Cage movies. Me and Gord King watched a few of those. And every, Sunday and Monday, I'll do occasional live streams, goof off, talk about shit. And then Wednesdays, we do a fun little movie watch video. So that's kind of what I've been doing. If you like EFAT movies, but wish it was done by Beavis and Butthead, or the guys from Cumtown, that's kind of what I'm doing on my channel. So check it out. We don't take ourselves too seriously on that show. So I hope you guys have fun. It's been good. And I love hanging out with you guys.
I love hanging out with both of you as well. That's, and because I consider I swap your guys' names all the goddamn time. I keep calling Enzo Sammy, which is retarded. I've never done that before. Then yesterday I started doing it out of the blue. So Sammy, bingo, bango, bongo. Tell the people what you got going on, my friend.
Hi, I'm Stupenzo. You can find me. You can find me at Stupenzolicious on X. Sammy 3-Pete. You can find me Sammy 3-Pete on X. You can find me at Sammy 3-Pete on YouTube. You can find me on everybody else's show as well. Just I'll it's gonna be relatively quiet week for me. I'll probably pop on Stupenzo's. I know I'm gonna be on GCA's podcast tomorrow. Just hanging out, shooting the shit there. In other news this weekend, I'm gonna take the weekend off, and then I will I might change my name.
What if some breaking news happens, like Muslims fly a plane into the Empire State Building?
Well, then I'll have to, do a teaser like tonight on a very special episode of In Other News. But other than that, I'll be hanging out on Moxie's channel on Saturday, and that should be it.
Bingo, bango, bongo. Last but not least, you got your boy here. I released 2 videos today. One breaking down the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 trailer. I'm still very excited for the film. However, there are concerns I have. And if you're looking for the more political side of things, I also released a video talking about the abandonment of DEI by Walmart. Is it real? Should we believe it? Is this just a step towards bridge? Are they speaking out 2 sides of their mouths? Who's to say? But I do think it was a very brilliantly well-written article from the AP. So check out one of or both of those videos. It would mean the absolute loyal to me. Thank you again to my amazing co-host, Sammy 3-Pete over on here. And of course, Enzo coming in with a fire topic. This was fantastic. We also couldn't do it without you. So everybody that stuck around, there's currently 60 people watching. We crested well over, I believe it was 80 individuals earlier. So this is another very successful show. It's still a new show, 6 episodes in. But I think everyone is getting better than the previous. And so we will see you next week for another conspiracy. I know we got a couple guest lines up, a couple of topics for the month of December, but who goes in what time slots? Unsure yet. Just know you will find us here at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern. It's like 4 for you fucking California fuckers or something like that. Either way, it's going to be a blast. Thank you so much. And truly, thank you to everybody who will be. Oh, and Foxy Moxie says Sammy will be on next Monday on Saucy Rabble. Arguably not even arguably, truly just the best one-on-one show on X. So yeah, if you guys are on X, on YouTube, if you guys are going to watch anything on YouTube, if you're going to watch a live stream that's a one-on-one, it's sort of an interview / news show that also covers pure insanity, make sure to watch that. Sammy and Moxie are just a winning team. And again, thank you to all of you that sent just insane amounts of donations, super chats, memberships, the whole nine. Moxie. Those that got their memberships, make sure to join the Discord. The link should be active. If not, it will be reshared very soon. That way we can get you in there. And until next time, it's all here in the Nerdosphere. And this has been Words of Paradise.